You ready for questions?
Yes, good, good, right, you know. Yes, yes.
Good news. It's in there. Okay, that's it.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The boroughs complied with the notice provisions of the Sunshine Law by adopting prior to January 10th of this year a resolution prescribing the dates, times, and locations of all regular meetings of the Commission. This meeting is one of the meetings listed in such resolution, and copies of the resolution were prior to January 10th filed with the borough clerk.
We have a motion to file the minutes. So moved. And a motion to file the following reports. Yes.
Yes.
I lost my agenda. Municipal court, tax collector, and zoning official.
Yes.
And we have the first reading of ordinance 1642, establishing a permit program for the use of certain facilities and athletic fields in Knight Park.
So this is an ordinance that we've been requested by the trustees of Knight Park to put in place and to kind of formalize a permit program for the use of the park. We've been working for some time with our, let's put it this way. The rec program has been expanded, you know, travel soccer, field hockey, there's like just so many things that are getting added and added and added. So we're coming up with a system to try to regulate the use of the fields a little better. So this is an ordinance that'll be heard at our August 6th meeting, and that's what this is about. Okay.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
Thank you. First reading of ordinance 1643, amending section 293-61 of the Borough of Collinsville Code prohibiting parking and in designated areas.
So this will be advertised, but this is basically down by the pool, kind of the new triangle intersection we created with Vineyard down at the pool. It's been a problem, and especially this weekend, kind of folks were parked everywhere. And it creates two narrow streets. We can't get emergency vehicles in there. So this is going to be creating a bunch of no parking areas to make sure that we can get emergency access. Okay.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard? Yes. Commissioner Lewandowski?
And
Yes.
there'll be public hearing on that at the August 6th meeting as well.
We have the following resolutions: appointing Michael Bernalski as full-time police officer for the Collinsville Police Department, and appointing Daniel Descala as special law enforcement officer class 2 for the Collinsville Police Department.
Yes.
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 Okay, so we're going to swear in. How you doing? Good. All right, how you doing? Come on, everybody getting up there? All right, yeah, take the picture. Nobody wants to see me. Result. So it's all five. Good left hand on it, right hand. I state your name.
I, Michael Brodowski,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
as police officer for the Borough of Collingswood,
as a police officer for the Borough of Collingswood,
according to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Let's go, welcome aboard. Okay, Danielle? I state your name.
I, Daniel Dexter,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
as Special Class 2 Police Officer
as Special Class 2 Police Officer
for the Borough of
for
Collingswood,
the Borough of Collingswood,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Congratulations to the family. Officers, you are all free to leave. You are not required to stay. You're more than welcome to, but given what I've seen go on for the last 30 years, no one will be staying. Sure thing. Have a good night. Okay. Yeah, go.
Appointing special law enforcement officers, Class 1, Ronald Borzi III, Nicholas Ferrer, Mark Maloney, Ryan Gether, and Corinne Massara.
And this is with the chief's recommendation? This is with the chief's recommendation? Sorry, thanks, Chief. Yes.
Requesting approval of special items of revenue and appropriations, safe routes to school and traffic calming project, shared service agreement Merchantville construction official, shared service agreement Oakland construction official, and the 2018 Clean Communities grant.
Just very briefly, the Safe Roads to School is a state grant program that we've gotten some funding in 2014. Sometimes the reason why we're not excited about getting this is because it takes about 10 years to actually implement. But they're just re-upping the engineer's contract and added to it, and paying for it. So that's all this is doing. We're getting the money to pay that. The two shared service agreements are one, we shared a construction official between Merchantville, Oakland, and Collingswood. He retired, and this is the three towns doing again for someone replacing him. And then 2018 Clean Communities Grant is money from the state that's simply allocating. We have to amend our budget to take that money in. Okay. Oh, we did that. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes.
We all voted. Yes.
Authorizing the solicitation of bids for the maintenance, servicing, programming, and repair of electronic valve controls and chemical analyzers for the water department.
That's self-explanatory. Yes.
Authorizing the renewal of shared service agreements between Cherry Hill Fire District Number 13 and the Borough of Collingswood for repairs.
We have for a while now, Cherry Hill has a pretty extensive fire truck repair service, and a lot cheaper. It's pretty expensive to get your fire truck repaired. They're a lot cheaper, so we could use them for some time in the shared service. Yes.
Yes.
Introducing and approving the 2018 bid budget.
Yes,
Yes.
there'll be the public hearing, right? It'll be at our next meeting, August 6th. Okay, yes.
Authorizing an agreement between the Borough of Collingswood and the Knight Park Board of Trustees for the use of permit program.
And this is simply doing an agreement with the trustees for the the permit program I referenced earlier. Yes.
Yes.
And approving the payment of bills as presented by the treasurer.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Dasky?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, obviously, Independence Day coming up, we all know about that. But just a reminder, movies in the park start on the 5th of July, and there's a whole schedule, Tuesdays and Thursdays, so check that out. Also, the Luau at the pool is on Sunday, July 8th. Last year it was a lot of fun, so I can bring it back, so just a reminder about that. Last thing, just to mention, because I think a lot of people here to talk about it, is people have been talking a lot about Airbnb and backyard hens lately. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. Just a couple things I want to mention. You may have heard the quote from Bismarck before that those that enjoy good sausage and good legislation should see neither being made. And I think it speaks to something here, really, on all these issues and a lot of other issues. Is that democracy's hard. That creating policy that not just takes the wants of the public, but also the needs of the community, and try to look things over from every angle, takes a while. The other part of that is that sometimes you just don't come to an agreement, and that has to be factored in too. So I mention it because I don't want anyone to get dispirited. That this is the way it's always worked, from the hot days of the Constitutional Convention to Collingswood on a hot day. So I mentioned that regarding backyard hens. I think probably when you came in with the agenda, were sheets.
Yes.
They were out there.
Yeah.
Folks probably may have seen that when you came in. So we don't have an agreement on backyard hens to move an ordinance. So what we wanted to do here is to sort of share with you kind of the elements of what an ordinance might be, if we could do it. That doesn't guarantee that it can happen or not, but the idea here is we promise to sort of move something forward, and in the absence of having an ordinance, because why do an ordinance that isn't going to pass? We wanted to throw out there sort of elements that came out of conversations over many months between all of us, of things that could be in an ordinance. And we do that. The idea is to share with you and to share with the entire community. I imagine this will be online shortly, to get feedback from NISMO. That we've talked in general principles about backyard hens before, and now the idea here is, well, when the rubber meets the road, what does that mean? And so these were things that came upon, and we're throwing them out there to get your feedback. So if you haven't grabbed them, I assume they're towards the back.
Yes.
Please do, and we'd like to hear from you.
Commissioner Laird?
I was just going to talk about Knight Park. I was in a different direction than that.
That's a pretty good one.
So this past weekend, community service workers and public works and a special police officer went and started working on weeding and cleaning up the edges of the park, which is so important in the summer, that the children's playground area and the lake area and the bridge area all looks a good, clean, and healthy environment. And we weeded around the trees, so there's no chemicals or pesticides or anything in the park. So we have to do these things by hand, and it's going to be a few more weeks of doing it. We do this every year to try to just spruce it up. We do it again in the fall. If anybody's interested or knows people that are interested in helping out, just give me a call at Farrell Hall or an email, and you're welcome to take part in any part of that you want to in any way to help the park. I'm hoping that's at least 110 degrees, which it was last summer, so we can enjoy that heat again. It was brutal, but weather permitting and drinking bottles of water will be out there, and that's a nice thing to do. I also hope that people enjoy the pool this summer, and that's looking good. And you know, we're trying to keep after volunteerism and professional services to keep things looking good and fresh and healthy. Crosswalks included and safety with the cars. So keep in touch with us to let us know how things are going there, and I hope that we're beginning of a safe summer.
Again, it feels extended. Okay, 4th of July will be just, the signs are up already, but Light Park will be closed again for the fireworks. It's worked great the last few years. There's also, with that, there were a lot of traffic restrictions. So if you've got any plans to get out there, both before and immediately after the fireworks, there are traffic restrictions. It is, you know, figure out how you're going to get there. My advice, figure out how to get there without the car, because it's not easy getting around. McFarland's, I'm happy to say, is pretty close, pretty close. I'm not even getting the 2 weeks anymore. We had a meeting, a town forum in the last week or so, I guess last week, on our on the public safety building, the police and fire building. Had about 100 people out of our forum. Went pretty well. A lot of issues to deal with the neighborhood, how we fit in, but we're moving forward with that, and we will be keeping people advised, people informed and advised. Rob touched a little bit about the backyard hens. I want to just touch a little bit, really the same kind of story with respect to Airbnbs. We've gotten a lot of airtime. We have requests in. A lot of people are concerned with it. We're going through, everybody can give their own views on it, but we're going through a little bit of a process to consider what, if any, regulation there should be if it were to be permitted in some way. I think kind of the principles that we're all in agreement on is that we're not in favor of an Airbnb use of houses in residential neighborhoods as a business, for a business. And how that gets measured, how that gets drawn, where that is, we're working through that right now. We're looking at, thankfully, there's lots and lots of towns that are regulating them in all different ways, limiting the number of nights you can do, having all kinds of restrictions about what you have, what and how you do it. So we're looking at all that. Not telling you we're doing it, I'm telling you we're looking at all that. Just to really, for my purposes at least, mainly motivated by the fire department out of fear that it's not being regulated in any way, and that folks are going to keep doing it. And we're going to find out about places when there's a fire. And things don't go well. So we're looking at that. So with that, open up to the floor. Anyone like to bring anything before the commission? This is your opportunity to do so. Yes, sir. Need your name and address for the record.
Sorry. Christopher Height, 14 West Summerfield, with Jersey. As you mentioned, over the last year, 18 months or so, people wore trash cans in the park. Again, since we took them away.
So there's a lot in there, and ones that are very expensive, and they're not in the most convenient spots.
I know. I would walk through there and pick up trash every day.
Right, we did it a lot on Saturday. So this Saturday when I'm there, and I walk the whole park with this, I'm gonna put eyes on that again and figure it out, because a couple of people spent a long time picking those exact spots, kind of so that people in their households would take their household trash and throw it there, which is
I know that was
what happens.
I know that was one of the things. It's
Horrifying, but it happens. So you have a little less convenient for people to do that, or to drive their car up and empty everything in their car into it. So that's the next thing that happens. So it's a little, you kind of do all this to try to make it better, and then if something happens like that. So with that said, we still want you to be able to throw trash away. So
oh yeah. I went to the park was clean, right?
the park, they were put in places where it was supposed to be the best for the park and the least convenience of abuse. So, but I'll be through there sweating on Saturday. So when I go through, and also on the 4th of July, I'll look, and if you look, just let's keep in touch, and everybody else too, and then see that, knowing that there's some abuse there. I'll be there at 9 o'clock until 11:30.
Maybe we can walk together, talk, walk.
If you do, you have to pick up trash with me when you walk.
Do it every day.
I already do it.
There may be far worse.
I'll collect my food.
Yeah, that is good. And we need to have more, we should have more. I'm just thinking that we have to do is the lid on the top has to be a little less convenient for people to pick up households. They can dump it. Small things make your neighborhood better, so, yeah. Okay, right to me.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Robert Iphone, IVOE, 605 Midnight Avenue, Unit 6 for the record. So I'm a resident here for about 3 years now. I rented my place for about a year, and then I bought it because I love town so much. So this is back to the Airbnb stuff. And my wife and I have used Airbnbs, I want to say about 10 years. I think they've been around that long, maybe longer, and I haven't stayed in a hotel since. So really just looking at the positive aspects of this entity, I compare it almost to say Uber and Lyft as compared to taxi cabs, right? So when you stay in an Airbnb, like we're going to do later this summer when we go to Spain and Portugal and every other city in this country that we go to, you're immersed in the culture, right? So you see the restaurants, you see how the people live in the town. And I see a lot in the paper, and really when I'm hearing a lot of negative stigma around it. And I don't think there's really anything negative about it. Really more so, I think it speaks well for the town when people come to stay here, and then they leave and say, wow, look how amazing Collinswood is. Look how amazing this home is that I stayed in. And additionally, everybody's vetted. Even when we signed up for a few last night for when we go overseas, and we have to get approval. So it's almost like when you're buying and selling on Amazon, everyone has to look at you, everyone has to approve you. So I really think we need to consider breaking the stigma of almost like an undesirable element being associated with an Airbnb, because I don't want to say I don't think, I know it's not that at all. More so, it sells the town, it's good for business, it's good for everything here, because it makes us not only open, but it really, word of mouth spreads about how great Collinswood is and can be, and we all know that. And much, much, much better than hotels, and I don't think they're being misused at all.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Ann Carroll, 30 Washington Avenue. I also have stayed in Airbnbs when I had to go to California places, and I loved the experience. And I would very much as I love my apartment, it is very tiny, and when I have people come to visit me, we have to kind of have one of them sleep on the floor and be in the recliner. So it would be great to have Airbnbs here. I only know 2 people who are currently doing that, Christina and Suzanne. They have, I think, really provided a good service to people who want to come and visit Collinswood or stay for some other reason. But it's a very, very nice way to travel and to invite people to your wonderful town so they can stay here. We don't have a hotel. There's nothing nearby rather than kind of boring places. This is just so much better. So I know you have to look at a lot of the stuff about regulating fire, all that kind of good stuff, but I'm sure that we could get something that would work for all of us.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yep, go ahead.
Commissioners, I'd like to say that,
Name and address, sir.
sorry, Ed Fox, 211 Lakeview Drive, Collinswood, New Jersey. I sent the commissioners a bunch of information about Airbnbs about last month. I'm concerned, I'm not necessarily against B&Bs. We have B&Bs in our ordinance for the past 20 years. It's regulated, it's permitted in the PO zone, which is on either end of Hatton Avenue outside the business district, and it's permitted in the neighborhood zones around downtown. That's fine. That's what was decided 20 years ago, and I'm not going to lecture you about all the different things that are in there. But the thing I want to express is that when you go to Airbnb, which are B&Bs, it specifically says that what legal and regulatory issues should one consider before hosting an Airbnb. And it talks about local laws, and it talks about zoning, it talks about permitting, it talks about license, it talks about taxes, it talks about insurance. And then before you click to be a host, it says, by accepting our terms of service. And activating a listing, you certified that you will follow your local laws and regulations. And either none of the 14 B&Bs in the borough looked at that and cared, or they were ignorant, or they did it for some other reason. I'm just concerned that we have rules, people should follow them. If they don't like it, propose to change it. I'd be happy to work with the borough and the commissioners about that. I'm concerned about fire. I'm concerned about transientness, how long people stay, whether it could be a rooming house, which we're not in favor of in our borough, or boarding houses. I'm concerned about excess parking. We have a difficult time providing 2 stalls behind the front yard for every property in the borough, and that's more than that. I'm concerned about insurance costs. It recommends an Airbnb. They have $1 million policy per incident on your home. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't know any insurance company that's going to permit in a homeowner's insurance policy to have a guest stay in there. So I'm concerned. I want everything to be above board. I want the neighbors within 200 feet to know what's going on so that they can be involved. And that's what you do when you have a conditional use permit or something approved by the borough. That's my concern, and I'll be happy to give some comments later on in writing.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, Bill, you had your, okay, go ahead, Christine. Go ahead. Yeah, just don't get in here, just keep it here, all right?
I'm Christina McLean. I live at 103 West Collins Avenue. I received a cease and desist letter. I'm an Airbnb superhost, and I haven't had any complaints. I was doing Airbnb for 4 years. Never received a complaint. Actually, my neighbor received a cease and desist letter also. He never received a complaint. And we have parking, we have driveways, so there's no parking problems. We have the same amount of people in our house that would naturally live there if we had a family. I live alone. I'd rather not live alone. I moved here in 2001. I was a renter. I had a retail store on Haddon Ave from 2003 to 2006. I got a house here in 2004. And I registered as a rental property. That's the only thing I need to do to follow an ordinance, is to be a rental property. In 2011, and every year the fire department comes and inspects my house, so they know that it's safe. I maintain my property better than I would if I just lived there alone. I hired a landscaper and a cleaner. I wouldn't do that if I just lived there by myself. I do that for my guests. And so that I can get, good reviews and be a superhost. It's actually really difficult to be a superhost. You have to maintain high quality of standard. I have a pile of menus for all the restaurants, so they all get recommendations of where to go. I only accept people that are coming to work in the area or visiting family, like people that have new babies. They don't have anywhere for their parents to stay to visit them, so they'll stay at my house, or people who are competing in the regatta on the Cooper River. Their family wants to come watch them, but they don't want to stay in a hotel, and they want to be able to walk there, so they don't have to bring a car. A lot of people come here because it's a transit village, which we've been promoting for a long time. We've done a lot of work on. And they say, how far is it to the Pacto station? Because I don't have a car, and I don't want to rent a car. So there's really no problem with parking. This is just my experience, and I know there's only 20 hosts, I think, is what Airbnb said, 20 hosts in Collingswood with over 7,000 homes. And if Airbnb's been around for 10 years, and I only started 4 years ago, and I usually am an early adopter of things. So, I don't think it's going to be overrun with Airbnb. Plus the history of single women renting out rooms. For 100 years, women have been renting out rooms. It's only new now because we have technology, and that allows you to see what we're doing online. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. And people have always been doing it. I've been doing it for 4 years with no complaints. There hasn't been parking complaints, fire complaints. And I think the reason I received the cease and desist letter is because I'm a volunteer, and you guys know who I am. So you go to the website, and you look at the pictures, and you see my name, and you're like, oh, we know who she is, we know where she lives. The same thing with Suzanne, she's a volunteer, Christy's a volunteer, she works for the borough. Like, we are the homeowner, we're occupying our homes as homeowners. And if you're afraid of absentee landlords, we're not the right people to be showing them.
All right, thanks. Christine, just to be clear, the other property that you mentioned there, we learned of that because neighbors complained, okay? It's not anybody's being singled out for any reason. Neighbors complained. That's what starts, okay? Yes?
Barbara Thomas, Land for Elbridge Avenue. I only know one Airbnb host in this town, Christina, and I have been so impressed with her and her service to our community for all these years. The other person I heard of, Suzanne Cloud, I heard that she is very much somebody who contributes to our community. Now, we're in a situation where our property taxes have doubled in the past, I don't know, what, 10 years or something? And I don't like the way we're treating our good people. I think I think that is reprehensible, really. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be calling you out on that, but it's like, and I will contribute and volunteer wherever I go, wherever I am. But, you know, if somebody is for 35, 36 years contributing to their community, and then this is how they get treated, their husband dies, their kids move out, and then they can't afford their property tax, and they're not allowed to make a little extra money to supplement that. The other thing I have a problem with is, it's like, if I am ever in a situation where I would need to have a roommate, this kind of came up tangentially, and that I needed to have a roommate to help me pay my expenses, my government has nothing to do with who I choose to have in my home. So I just want to say that right now, and I think it's astonishing that would be in place and that it should be changed. Finally, I really don't think we're talking about reinventing the wheel, either in this topic or the chicken topic, because this is something that you can say, these are the problems, let's write those into the ordinance and allow these really good people to do what they're doing. You know, thank you.
Thank you. If I can just say something, because I think it's really important, is a zoning board will hear a variance and will look at a particular person's situation. We don't do that, and we shouldn't do that. Because we have to write policy. It's not about this person being a good person or that person being a good person. It's about what is a appropriate, policy that, in this case might allow, but define the parameters with which you do it. And what I'm saying is, every day when I wake up and say, we don't have this, I don't say to myself, yes, I'm screwing Christine over. What I'm saying is how are we going to get there? How are we going to get there? And so I just want to make sure, because
Okay, let's just talk about
reprehensible.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm stuck on reprehensible.
No, that's fine. Whatever.
That's what I finished with. We need to adjust the law. We need to write something in that will make it more fair.
Maybe we have, the law might be good. We're studying it to figure it out. The point is, right now, it's not lawful. Nobody came to the fire department and said, I'm going to be running this and that, and then they'll be told you need to go to the zoning office. The 20 houses just did it. We didn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, one has gone through the process, okay? They've gone through the zoning process and been denied, okay? And it's still, I don't know if it's still advertised, but it's still being advertised. But let me just, one thing, I just want to get clear, a little differentiation.
I'm also not, when I said reprehensible, I don't mean you guys are reprehensible. That's not what I meant. I meant that it is not a good situation.
And that's okay. That's
No,
okay.
it's not a good situation to be serving your community for 35 years and then be told, oh, you can't afford your high taxes?
Barbara, that can't matter. That can't matter. You're implying that if somebody didn't coach in Little League, it would be okay to do this to them. That's not how it works.
It's not okay to do it.
It's not how it works, okay?
Anyone should be able to get whatever roommate they want.
We've been looking, as I said earlier, we've been looking at a lot of towns about their ordinances and their regulations and what they're doing, okay? Everyone, I think I'm safe saying, everyone that regulates them puts a limit on the number of days a year that you can rent. Okay? I know, it's not, these people that are, Christina and the other person that's been making the most, saying the most about this, that's not what they do. This will not, they want to rent it 365, okay? So what we're looking at with this, everywhere, in fact, a reporter told me that Paris just adopted regulations of it, 180 days a year, okay? Paris, like, one of the biggest destinations in the world, you can't do what's going on with a couple locations here, okay? So there's a wide range of differences. There's a lot of different implications of it, what it means. We're looking at all, this is a new thing, okay? And we're looking at what our rental registrations are, how it applies to it. It is, to the extent that we do anything on this, it is going to be because we're concerned that people will still be doing it, causing public safety health issues for their guests, okay? And not the least of which is fire. Okay, number one. Fire, we had a fire, we just recognized at the last meeting, right? Last meeting, a couple of our fire guys that rescued 2 people out of a burning building. Okay? And after that meeting, the chief says to me, there was some Airbnb talk. After he says that it's Airbnb, I don't know if we get them out. Okay? Because the reality is, that's why hotels have everything they have. When you go in and you're staying someplace new for a night, you've got all different kinds of signs and ways for you to find out how to get out if something goes wrong. Okay? If someone's a roommate and they're living with you for extended period of time, they learn the house, right? They know the house. If someone's renting a property for a year, they learn the property. But if a lot of people are coming in for a night or two, then they don't know the property. And these folks in this fire up the street in May went one way, were blocked because of the fire, and knew where to go, okay? So it is not just about people getting good reviews and it all being nice and great, and I know you travel here and have a great Airbnb experience. I get that, I know that, okay? That's not what this is about. This is about trying to make sure that it's done in a way that it's safe for everybody, that it's done in a way that it's good for the neighborhood, okay? I haven't heard from neighbors, okay? It's got to be good for the neighborhood, not just good for the guy that's making a buck, okay? It's got to be good for the neighborhood, okay? And I've heard from a whole lot of people that don't think it's good for their neighborhood, okay? So that's just where we are.
I'm just going to add, and mind you, I'm someone that I think there is a path to regulating this and allowing it. What I will say is that until that time, we have to enforce what's on the books. And that you do not want a government, you do not want your government that picks and chooses what to, who to enforce on and who not to. And that, so when a zoning officer comes, they're following the rules that are there. And it's a difficult thing when those people are put in the situation because they're following essentially the law. And that law may not be good, and you can petition us, and we can make a change, not make a change, you can make a change in the people that represent you. All of that stuff is on the table. But what we have to do is still maintain the standard. And I think that's important. And I do think there could be a way. I think Mr. Fox brought up a lot of issues, and it's not just yes or no, it's how do you get there, and it's complicated. It's very complicated.
Bill, go ahead. They've addressed for how
Bill, 28 on that. Now for about a long time. Worked with in the past, so I kind of see both sides now. And just for the record, I don't have a dog race. I have no intention of renting my house out. However, okay. I don't have a dog race. I have no intention of renting my property. But I think something should be done to address this because, frankly, you read the latest budget released by the New Jersey state government, they're taxing Airbnbs now. big phenomenon going on right now. I have relatives who live in Paris. What you don't hear about, they got fisticuffs in the hallway before they have that meeting. Because they're very upset about the impact of property values, etc. But they went along with that anyhow. You can't compare Paris to Collins because it's got whole set of walls. That being said, though, as a casual observer, it's a growing phenomenon. Both for money, and let's face it, I mean, it does give Collins a good press. That being said, I used to work in government for a number of years. The biggest thing to watch out for was lawsuits, lawsuits, lawsuits. You don't want people dying from fires and such. But, flip side, I think you all have something at hand to be very beneficial, not only to South Grass, but it's money, income, to look at this as well. Not just the blowback or possibility we'll see what Collins about, but also possibly, if it's done right, bring more income to the town. That being said about that, we have to go through.
State law doesn't permit that.
Is that?
State law does not permit
The tax is going to the state.
that. State law has a law that they could collect.
They can have a tax, yeah,
But towns can't.
but I'm just suggesting maybe a way to get around that. I can talk to you about that later on in terms of legislation.
No, we're not
legislating.
At a public meeting, you're gonna show me a way to get around it?
Well, I'm not saying around that, but I want to say, maybe ways of working with state legislators, make them realize that tax doesn't come from the state. It should also benefit the zoning board directly and construction official. Because that dedicated funding used solely for the construction official. The state can't touch that.
No, the only, so to the extent that they're, you put something together, they're gonna get regulated, okay?
Yes.
So someone has to enforce that,
Yes,
okay? So you're allowed to charge a fee,
right.
but that fee can only be to cover the cost of your installation.
Right.
So you can't make money,
No,
okay? You can't make money.
per se.
You can only cover, well, okay. Yes, let's go around. You're gonna show me a way to get around. The gentleman, 1 second, yeah, the gentleman in the back, yes.
Tom Peters, I also live in Eldridge Avenue, I'm Barbara's husband. The method in which this came up, I thought it was a little draconian, the cease and desist letters instead of simple phone calls and a meeting. You're shaking your head already.
Every neighbor calls complaining that somebody has a zoning violation, you want us to call up and talk with them?
Well, there's not a cease
You know how
and
many
desist.
people are hard to step?
You're such a dismissive
Go ahead.
individual, so please.
Go ahead.
come on,
Go ahead.
respect the
I'm
people.
sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Every time I've come to a meeting, you've been to me.
That's it. Start me. Go ahead,
I'm
finish.
not saying your behavior is rude.
I understand that, thank you, go right ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to know who is going to be on this committee that is going to develop rules and regulations or visit the possibility of Airbnbs. Who's going to be on that?
I don't think we have any said about a committee, but it's right here, Board of Commissioners, the three of us.
Do you think you should have somebody who has frequented Airbnbs or has hosted an Airbnb to participate? So, again, you're shaking your head, no?
I'm sorry, I won't look, you finish answering, I won't show any expression whatsoever.
Well, what's
Throwing you
the
off.
issue of having input? What's the problem with having input from the citizens that voted?
What is that?
Okay, thank you.
The input that, I get input from a million people in town, out of town, looked at other towns, talked to users, talked to renters, used it myself. I mean, that's the, so the idea is, I think all three of us are directly doing it or indirectly in our conversations with each other are going through that process of getting that outside stuff. I mean, I've gotten some great ideas by an Airbnb person in town who came and showed me model programs and stuff like that, and I've adopted a lot of it in my suggestions. So the idea is, so I think it is happening.
Well, most, in my businesses, I get people from all aspects, and I get them together, we talk about how everything impacts everything else. So you get a lot of input from viewpoints that I would consider, and perhaps you would consider it. And if you have people that, I've say that over 100 Airbnbs, and they've all been hosted by owner occupants. So I'm a guest in their home, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I get shown around the culture. I'm not an Airbnb host, nor would I ever want to be, because I don't want to devote that kind of time. But I think you should have somebody who has participated on both ends of the spectrum and sit down and just have a discussion. And you might be surprised at input that comes up.
So we have, okay, but the other,
What was that meeting though?
I'll tell you what. We have, the piece that you're missing though, and that you should be talking, is the neighborhood, okay? I know people like to use Airbnb. We know people obviously want to host Airbnb. Piece that's missing, at least for me, is the neighbors in our residential areas that all of a sudden have someone running a boarding house, whatever, it's been classified as a boarding house by our zoning board, okay? So that's the process, went through the process, 7 people voted, okay? So that's where, I tell you what, we'll take everybody one at a time, but that's the process. And we are hearing from a lot of the neighborhoods, okay? We're hearing from a lot of people that use it, that host it. We're collecting all that information like we do on everything else that we do.
Okay, and would the neighbors speak to Christine or any other Airbnb host when they sit down, and perception or reality are often 2 different things. If they perceive something and they're explaining why they have that perception, perhaps a common ground can be found. That's why I think it's all together, more viewpoints together in one room at one time.
I think there's a misconception in some ways. I get a sense where some of it comes from and how things have been talked about, and also just how it keeps bouncing around on social media and stuff like that. But I don't think, in talking to both commissioner and mayor, I don't think there's a perception in their mind that this is a horrible thing. It's just not workable, at least in some ways, within what we have right now. And whether they see a way to get there or not is incumbent upon us to talk to each other and figure that out. And two plus one, 2 people have to do it. But I don't think it's because it's evil. It's because it's difficult, because it's running a business in town, because there's lots of issues. The insurance issue is huge. As an example, examples out there where, yeah, Airbnb has insurance on you, but that may not cover you, and your homeowners might not cover you in another instance. So the question is not, does that mean no? No, it means how would we even go about asking for proof, or what would we require of you, of your homeowner? Should we say you have to have an umbrella policy? Do you have to have another type of policy? Does it matter if you're doing it, 30 days a year and then one week a year? Like, all those things are there, and those are hows, not yes or no's. And those are now.
To get the other viewpoints, I think is important. I understand they have to be rules on the total reason of that. I think it's a wonderful idea to create rules. But how you go about creating rules that benefits both the community, the tourists, and the homeowners, I think is that, all 3 of those components should be considered at least.
But the way we do that is we work together, work to put something together that we think will do all that. And then we introduce it, and it gets published, and then people look and see what it is, they comment to us and say, gee, I don't think that works, I don't think this works. And we formulate it, we hear from all kinds of people, all kinds of folks. And that's how, we're not setting up a special committee. We're not doing that. We're not setting up a special committee to do it, because frankly, I don't see how you do that. But when I talk to neighbors,
do it every day.
But the good news is the dialogue is not happening in a vacuum. We're hearing from people constantly. The good news is we're not discussing stuff in a vacuum. We're hearing constantly from you, from others, from lawyers, from planners, so the good news is that process that you're asking about, it really is happening.
Then we have
okay,
clarity.
hang on, Christina, when you get recognized, okay? Yes.
My name is Amelia Cole, 47 Patton Avenue, Hollister, New Jersey. There are good players and bad players with Airbnb, and I had the misfortune of living next door to someone who was for 25 years in a twin. actually operating her house as a boarding house illegally, okay? And after she passed away, she's deceased. You know, I did find evidence of $300 a room for this person, $400 a room for that person for the month. She owned another property next door to her, which is also a twin, was renting it out, but then there were like 6 people living there. And people do rentals now in Collingswood where everybody's subletting to everybody else who rent this single family home. And there's no inspections on a lot of these single homes that are occupied, no inspection. Right, so but I found out from the contractors who redid that house that there were extension cords run under carpeting, that there was electrical that was from the basement used with regular extension cord wiring to a circuit. I mean, it was a disaster in that house. You wouldn't want an animal to live there, whatever. And there were animals and there were this and that. And she did it for years. And her house was still dilapidated. It was unsafe. So I don't know what you call her. I'm sure there are good people who do Airbnb, but I lived next door to that. And there was nothing I could do to stop it. And my house was, imperiled because that thing could have gone up like that and I would have been dead. Or furnace failed. We have a brick 1925, a brick partition wall. Any kind of fumes from there could have come in and, those in her sleep. She probably didn't have smoke detector. She'd have a carbon monoxide detector. And she had like about 5 properties in Collingswood. And she did this. And I don't know if anybody was aware of it, but that's a bad fire. So, and if she was online, she probably was too. I don't know, I never checked her out. I lived next door to her, I respected her, it was her property. It was a drag on my property value, it was horrible. So this is what I had happen, for 25 years. So I don't ever want that to happen next to my house again. And so, and other people are good players. They're gonna follow the rules, they're gonna do what they wanna do. But yeah, I would want an Airbnb next door to me. And if you also look at IRS.gov, they're talking a lot now about the gig economy. And for IRS rules, like renting if you can look at the gig economy on IRS.gov, I think you're allowed by the IRS to rent your property for 2 weeks a year, and it's not taxable in any way, shape, or form. That's what IRS says for the federal government. Now, I don't know what the state government says, probably the same, but then, that's it. But are you allowed to do it? What are you doing? And you rent your property out. It doesn't say, well, 2 weeks. And then it's not, then it's a business if it's more than that. So, there you go.
Okay. Yes, young lady in the back.
Kathleen McKenna, 253 Woodlawn Avenue, Collingswood. I have a couple of comments. First is I was in a catastrophic car accident about 2 years ago, and I had 5 children at home. And my family wanted to come and visit me when I was in the hospital, when I came back home from the hospital. And I know we discussed owner-operated Airbnbs, but I was out of luck because I reached out to Christina and to 2 other Airbnb hosts in Collingswood, and they couldn't help me because they told me, when you go through the website, I'm not going to be here. Even though it said those days are open, none of those days are available. I can't book them for you. So they're not renting in their absence. They are honestly going to be in that house. They're not going to make money. They're not going to be absentee landlords. My family had to stay in Philadelphia and come on the backhoe to visit me. Secondly, I'm curious about, keep talking about insurance and fire. Again, I mentioned I have 5 children. Sometimes both my daughters have about 9 to 12 teenage girls living over our house. If there was a fire, God forbid, those girls wouldn't know how to get out of my house either, maybe. And the fire department wouldn't know if they were there. But these are what ifs. They're very, very rare. And I don't see the difference between my neighbor who lives a few houses down from me, who has various unsavory gentleman callers coming every couple of nights that she hooks up with on Tinder, totally legally because she's not charging any money, and someone who's been vetted by Airbnb and has insurance, has been insured and checked and verified their identity and all sorts of other security purposes, coming and someone making a little bit of money to offset their insurance. Because unless we're going to start saying we have a limit on sleepovers, we have a limit on hooking up with people on the internet, we have a problem there. It's not what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Where historically, someone mentioned this before, both chickens and renting out rooms. Rob, I think you have kids about my kid's age, but my daughters loved American Girl dolls. It's American Girl movie, Kids in Church. It takes place during the Depression. The husband has to go off, move to another city and earn some money. The mother, so embarrassingly, has to get chickens in the backyard because that's how they're going to feed themselves, because they have to have sovereignty over their food. And even worse, she has to rent out rooms in her house because she is a woman who doesn't have the same earning potential as men do. She can't go out there. This has historically happened to women. They get screwed because they're left without the same earning potential in our society. They can't, they're shrews and old maids because they're not married. I mean, there's so much stigma to say, like, I want to rise above this. I don't want to be a renter. I want to be a homeowner in my community, and maybe I want to open my home up. I think is a valuable asset to our community. And finally, I'm calling for Backyard Pen's proposed ordinance feature, again with the neighborhood. Adjacent neighbors sign off for pilot, bold yes. I'm familiar with many of the other pilots in surrounding towns, and no one else has that issue. I, again, don't have to sign off on the unsavory gentleman coming to my neighbor's house. That's fine with me. My other neighbor just bought 2 motorcycles, leaves for work at 5:30 in the morning, really unpleasant, wakes up my baby. I deal with it. Because what they do in their home, what they do in their property is their business. It's not harming me. Maybe a slight inconvenience when somebody's at a party, the music is too loud. And that's what neighborhoods are about. You talk to your neighbor, you say, hey, could you maybe like not rev your motorcycle so much in the morning? Or, hey, if you're having your Airbnb guests, can you put it in your advertisement that there is no parking here? You offer no parking spaces. I'm so concerned about parking. Or in your advertisement on Airbnb, you list fire exits, because that's actually one of the things you have to list when it says like amenities. That tells you the amenities in Airbnb. And I really recommend it, Mayor Rally. I think also a lot of people are feeling a little hostile towards you, because I think you were quoted a little roughly in the press about this with regard to renters. And I think that there's a little animosity.
About renters?
Yeah. And I know that Rob has seen it on social media. People have kind of drawn out that one particular quote that you made, that you were quoted about renters being
It's about taking single-family homes that were turned into multi-family homes.
Right.
And then doing the conversion back.
Right.
And the idea was we want homeowners, we didn't want.
We don't want renters. And I think that there's, I want to let you know, but I'm just telling you, because I know that that's, I'm just like, I'm looking out for you. Like, I'm looking out for you. People are feeling a little bit of animosity towards you because of that. It's been bouncing around on social media. So maybe mind that also. Because, I mean, there are renters, and some of them rent to own, and they live here, and they contribute to our community. Some rent and move away. But every person in this community votes if they live here, I hope, and they are all contributing. So I think,
Listen, we built apartments, okay? Like the lumberyard. Okay, so, no, I don't, yeah, I hear you, and people are jumping all over it, It is, and we built apartments, okay? We also worked a long time to convert houses that were flipped into duplexes and triplexes because people needed the income, okay? And then when those people passed on, out-of-town people took them over and ran them. And so the stress in the neighborhoods was too great.
They're not changing the structure of the home.
I tell you, I hear you.
You're not. You want your house to be as home-like as possible, and stated 35 to 50 of them.
Listen, the other big trend going on right now, right, in Airbnb is companies buying buildings and simply running them as Airbnbs. Okay? So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter, listen, if there's no, I tell you, I let you talk, okay? So let me just respond. However, if we go and regulate this, we have to regulate it with those things in mind, okay? And I keep coming back to, frankly, always give me a good answer to it in all my discussions. Why is this good for the neighborhood?
I just told you. I said, I
Answer that for me. How's it good for the neighborhood?
The neighbors are.
No, Christina, this young lady
I would like
speaking.
to tell you how to confirm a
Please.
neighborhood perspective. I think that people having diversity of experience is good for your neighborhood. I think people having fresh ideas and interactions with people, being friendly. You know, someone stays in an Airbnb and they say, hey, I'm in from out of town. Can you tell me where this is? Or, hey, I'm looking for a really good vegan restaurant. Or, I am looking for a place to see live music. Or, what's the story with that pool? It's so hot today. Is there a way I can go, even though I'm just staying here? And people open up their eyes. They experience different perspectives. Maybe someone in Collingswood has never met anyone from Sri Lanka. But maybe someone from Sri Lanka comes and stays in Collingswood in an Airbnb and opens up that person's worldview. Maybe someone visits who is disabled and can't just get a hotel. I will tell you, as a disabled person, it's very expensive and very hard to stay in a hotel with a family when you are disabled. It's very hard. Someone comes to an Airbnb, first floor house, accessibility, it's awesome.
I don't mean to minimize what you're saying, okay? But get me back to how's it good for the neighborhood? Okay? You said it exposes to folks with different cultures.
Worldviews,
Okay.
life experiences. Yes. How is that bad?
Yeah, what's the detriment?
There's a lot of that.
Because here's the thing.
I apologize for arguing with you, but remember how this all started? This all started with a neighbor complaining. That's how all this started. This all started with a neighbor complaining.
That maybe isn't the most neighborly thing to do, because maybe that neighbor should have spoken to the homeowner. Because
maybe the neighbor did.
But maybe not. How do we know? I mean, I could have taken so many nights where there's parties, but it's just we are people who like living here, and you take everybody complains. There's fireworks. The dogs are barking. We live near Philadelphia. We're gonna have fireworks. We live on top of each other. Some people share driveways. Some people are prickly. Some people aren't. We just have to learn that the lesson in all of this, I think, is like, how do we figure out a way to make everybody get along a little better and complain a little less? Because we have very few problems in Collingswood to complain about. We don't have violent crime. We have religious schools. We have so many things we could say are awesome.
I agree with you on that.
Well, if you have so many people in your house, then the police, if you have a fire, then the fire department will know how to get them out. I mean, these are all really, really, really far off what
let me just say this.
That's not the fire chief, they're not.
I wonder, but the difference is you're not running a business. So this is what I have to deal with that you don't. Is if you're running an Airbnb, you're running a business and you're asking for us to okay it without having time to figure out, can we put the proper parameters for fire safety for others. I think this will get us here, right? That there should be a license application completed with an annual fee. It must be an owner-occupied property, half a year and a day at least. Must not rent for more than 90 days a year or 28 consecutive days. So wait, I want to make more money. Well, I'm sorry. That, to me, it's if you want a full business, then you should open a hotel. If you want to use this as supplemental and have a balance with the community, then maybe something can be worked out. Occupancy limit, no more than 2 adults per bedroom. Must meet all fire safety building requirements. Inspected by a certified building inspector or our own. Tenants must be given a sheet outlining local laws regarding parking, trash, noise, occupancy, including something with egress and some of that. Sign, you can't have any signs that advertise properties for rent. So if you're on an Airbnb, I want to see a sign outside your thing saying this is available. Off-street parking must be made available to tenants. It could do a million of these, no physical changes to the thing. Don't go putting a door in one of the bedrooms to say, look, you can have access here, you don't have to come through the room. Not going to have that. Cooking facilities, there's a million of these things. But the thing is they have to be worked out. And that's not a yes or no, that takes time. And that's what's happening.
And as Tom said, there's a lot of views on it. And we're listening to folks, we're hearing what they got to say about it, and trying to come to a consensus of how we do it.
I just have one thing about listening to folks saying because this is regarding chicken. We held an open forum, advertised for it as everywhere we possibly could, and every single person who came to the open forum regarding the backyard chickens there was not a single person in the house who was in opposition.
I understand.
So I'm wondering, like, if that holds any weight?
Well,
Because you keep saying we're hearing from the
holds-
community, but we are not, the people who actually have like experience or answers. We had, you know, concerns we could address, they didn't come. They didn't address us on Facebook, and they didn't come to the meeting. So I'm just wondering, like, maybe you can put them in touch with the people who really want chickens. Who you're hearing from, because we would love to try and persuade them.
So, Kate and I have had this discussion before. A lot of those folks, you know how you were talking about neighbors don't want to like turn on their neighbors, okay? I've heard from a whole bunch of folks that don't put this on me. Like if we did something like a neighbor approval, I don't want to, I know my neighbor is all about having these chickens. I do not want them next door, okay? Don't put this on me that I have to be the one to go to my neighbor and say, I don't want you to have chickens next door.
Next to
Okay.
Can you set it
And-
for children or dogs or what does it matter what they have in the backyard?
Hey, my neighbor wanted to let squirrels live in her house and left the windows open one year, and I had to talk to her about squirrels, and she told me that horse have family ties. So, and there are people who, excuse me for interrupting, there are people who are actually renters that are renting properties, the whole house, single home. They're subletting it to about 5 people, and then that person rents their room for an Airbnb on Airbnb. They don't even own the house. They do it all the time in New York. Kids live
Okay,
together.
let me get around.
I'm just gonna focus on the chicken thing, because there's a question I want to be able to answer, because, so about the neighbor notification, you know, that was put there, right? This is the idea here is a pilot program. And the idea, first of all, is that you gotta pass an ordinance. You gotta pass an ordinance, means you need people here to come to an agreement. So we're trying to find a way to do that. Now, you may argue that's not good, and I'll agree with you. It may not be perfect, but the thing is, does it get you to yes? Does it get you to something that's workable? And I make the argument, the pilot program, if we can get those participants who have neighbor sign off, it's going to be much more likely to be successful than if you have, flip a coin and you get the nasty neighbor that's going to complain whether it's legitimate or not legitimate, and you're going to have those problems. So the idea here is it puts it on the participants, because this is a start, to see if we can get this done. And, I think those first participants should be people who can get that sign off, because I think that would be a conducive environment to make this work. Is it perfect? Is it long-term sustainable or desirable? I don't know. But I figure if we're going to get this started, is we got to get to yes on ideas and principles, and part of getting there, I think, is that. And the thing is it's not an absolute, because the mayor pointed out the other side of it. Some of those people who would say, thank you for giving me, the ability to essentially veto, there's going to be someone else that says, why are you putting it on me? Well, why are you putting it on anybody, right? I mean, this is part of the process. So I wanted to tell you how that ended up there. It was a way to try to find a way. All right, if you have a negative, opinion, and you're worried about this, and your neighbor wants it, maybe that won't be a first round participant. The number here is 12, but maybe if it's, if it works out well and it's expanded, then that person comes in a second round or something. So it's not perfect, but hopefully it gets us there. So I wanted to answer because you brought it up.
Yes, sir.
Michael D'Antonio, 114 Edison. I'm community conflict. I heard fire as one potential reason for not doing this. Are you allowed to talk about other reasons? Like I heard some neighbors complain. Are we allowed to understand?
Parking, people, like, we have an ordinance on the books without bed and breakfast. Okay? You can have a bed and breakfast in town. So you can have, single night, but
Yeah,
and I think that's real instructive, because what's permitted and allowed, it's got to be a certain size of a lot so that you're not close to neighbors, okay? In the event that somebody's making too much noise on their night for the bachelor party or whatever, right? You got to have off-street parking, for the cars.
These are complaints from the neighbors.
No, I'm saying in the bed and breakfast ordinance that we have. That's very, I know. So I'm trying to answer that by giving you an illustration that the bed and breakfast ordinance that we have addresses things like how close the house can be to other buildings, okay? So that to the extent that there's more noise, that it minimizes that. It has to have off-street parking, okay? It has to be regulated for fire and building code, those kinds of things. So really, if you take a lot of those similar things and you put it into now, twin homes, okay? It presents a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what we're trying to address.
Yeah, and I think this is democracy at work and deciding how to do it. My only comment is the Airbnb is in 220 countries, over 500 cities. We should be able to figure this out in the community. I mean, right?
Let me just circle back to you again, okay?
I mean, there's five smart people up there.
Right? And I think in most all of those places it's being regulated now too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's being done in other cities.
But a lot of places are
be done in our community.
A lot of places are outright banning it. Okay. For most everyone, there is a limit on how much you can do it. And for those folks that we're dealing with that have raised this, they would not fit that. Okay? So this concept that if we regulate it the way most towns are doing it, the folks that are upset with this would not be able to do what they're doing. Okay? So even with that, there's a difference with it. Okay? And that's what we're trying to address. What's attractive to me in it all is fire concerns and setting something up so that we can regulate it to make sure it's safe. Okay? But I'm also concerned about the impact on neighborhoods. Okay? While it's great to have other people come in, okay, and to learn from other people, it's also great to know your neighbors and to develop relationships with them over periods of time. And when you have remember, you can't put limits on this. You can't say, oh, there's 12 houses. The first 12 in get to be B&B. This can be anywhere. Okay? Anybody can do it.
No,
right?
So, but no one in this room knows who I am. And I live in Collingswood, other than my girlfriend, right? So I think, So I think, my comment is, I think just positivity around, obviously safety. No one wants anything bad to happen, but Collingswood's such a great town. It's taken many years. When I was a little kid in Ag Township, I saw where Collingswood was, and I never thought. I went to live in San Francisco. I came back. I couldn't believe that this was Collingswood. People in Philadelphia that I know come here to eat here instead of eating in the city. It's such a great community, and for something that is innovative like Airbnb, we should be part of that community. So I understand there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
And the goal, I hope, is that I'm hearing it tonight.
Can I just tell you something there? So you're coming from a place that everything is so great now compared to how it was 25 years ago. It's much better now. There's no question. From 25 years ago to now, we were listed as one of the top 40 blighted neighborhoods in America. And real estate agents told people, if you went on this side of Browning Road, it's not so good. I mean, it was absolutely devastating to me to hear it. I would go face to face. Before I ran for office, I said, don't you say that about our town. We're going to work to bring back this town. One of the things that was a problem back then was too much rental. Nobody wanted to live here. They just wanted to buy a house and move somewhere else. And this would be a good place to get some rent. And they didn't take care of the garden. They didn't take care of the front lawn. There was cars all over the place, sofas on the front porch. It was disrespected. So there is nothing that this government is going to do without shaking the box around, moving it this way and that way, looking from all angles. No matter what anybody in this room says, it is our responsibility to protect you from blight. And we're going to read every article, every journal, read all over we're very intelligent, but this is new. I know all about Airbnb. It's in a tourist community where I go for the summer, and guess what? Nobody lives there. There's managers. It's not where you live. It's not where you want to be. It's where you want to go to the beach. It's not good. we want to live here, we want you to want to live here, we want your children to want to live here. So having something that's transient is part of what we work against, let's save the neighborhood. Do we like apartments? Of course. Do you know what percentage of this neighborhood is already rental? It's not something to be that proud of, it's too much. So to do that, what happens if whole blocks are bought by outside investors? We say, oh, you're not a single woman that doesn't have money. You can't do that in government. It's either allowed or it's not allowed. That's bigotry. You can't say you're poor, it's okay. You're either allowed to rent or you're not. So we have to look at every single aspect of it and look at where are we going to be in 10 years? How many things in that block will be? Will you move to Haddon Township, Collins with all rental again? So it's really, really important to us. We don't take anything lightly. We listen to every single thing. We are here to protect this borough from people who really put 5 cars in their front lawn not that long ago. You know, things that you think you might not really want to live here. And we've come a long way. So my feeling about it is I know when we travel, we want to go to those places, but what's the behind the scenes story? Why did Miami ban it? It's banned in Manhattan. And I just bought one. I just went to one. I rented one a month ago. How come it's banned? And people, what's going on? So there's so much to learn. The more I read, the more I dig, the more I find out, the more I say, I better write that one down. What was that? So now the more I find out, the more I know nothing. Because I only knew that where I see them, it's all a bunch of managers, and there really isn't anybody who's your neighbor anymore, because it grows. So how do we limit it? What do we do? So I'm just telling you, we're at the beginning stages. I've only read 1,000 pages on it. They probably read 5,000, 500,000. But there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, my general comment is.
Thanks for listening to me.
I think the process is good, and, you know, the more we can talk and think about things like you're describing in all facets, that's the way to look at it.
That's what we do.
It does affect the economics, it does affect homeowners, it does affect schools, you're right.
Everything we do is about how many kids are going to be in the school, what people are going to go shopping, when should there be kiosks and not kiosks, when should the library be open, should there be sticks open on Sunday? If we go on and on to do anything to help the neighborhood, having people come and go is also transiency, and it also can make a bunch of rentals again. How do you walk that line? What happens? What's going to be good and not good? So this is, for me, I'm looking at all that for where we're going to be and what's going to. Of course, we like going to Airbnb. Do you want one on both sides of you? My friends say no. My friends say no. My friends that have been here for 40 years say, we've been there already. It didn't work for me.
To that is the businesses on Haddon Avenue, right?
What's that?
The businesses
Well,
on Haddon Avenue.
we like
right?
visitors, that's a good point, but we have so many apartments, and we're always trying to work on the critical mass and bringing people here. We're doing that, we're doing all that, we're a transient-oriented village, we're winning awards for that. We just want to know, I'm hearing from people, and we all have different friends and different colleagues, and do different things for a living. So we're looking at what people want to see and not want to see. Where's boarding houses, where's B&Bs, and Airbnbs, just one company. You can't say Airbnb, it's short-term rentals. And what do we want to see happen with that? How long, how much? Do you want to know who's coming and going? Some ordinances that I read said that you could, they're allowing people to sleep but no parties, no events. So you know something happened there. You know, it didn't work out for them. So now they're like, what do we have? Police going to go around and make sure you're not having a So there's so many things to look at that are overwhelming, but we are doing it, and it takes a while. A lot of people don't want to be next to this or that, like Emily was just saying. I'm sorry about what you had that first. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so thanks for listening, and I talked too much.
Anybody else? Kate, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask a couple questions.
Name and address.
Kate Lane, 26 Palmer.
Thank you.
Like Kathleen, I'm concerned about the sign off from neighbors. I also think the lot size is really small. It definitely eliminates twins. I wasn't sure what the master backyard keeper certification is, if that's Gwen's class or something else. And 12 seems like not that many licenses.
Listen, it's this feedback that we want. Feel free to share and get all that feedback.
And ordinance or pilot program? Because it says ordinance is not in the.
Well,
It would be an ordinance creating a pilot program.
so lot size, number of
licenses. Again, I wasn't sure what the
So
backyard keeper certification.
This isn't your only chance, so you can always come back.
So just get clear, you hit the topics.
Yes.
But you have a view, I presume.
I have a view, I think that the lot
What's your
size.
view on those copies?
The lot size is too small, it eliminates twins. I live in twins. It's
So
too
it's too
big,
big.
sorry, too big.
Okay, that was one of my.
I wasn't sure the master backyard keeper certification is, if that is the class that Glenn offers.
It's
Or if that's
it's
something
not,
else.
it's not what she offers. I think it's something that she's sort of worked for, right, Glenn? And I use the term or equivalent. The idea is you want to make sure that that there's always someone on there that knows more than everybody else. So the idea is that, or a veterinarian, somebody there who can bring a high level of understanding and address things that we may not anticipate but know the answer. So that's why that was on there.
Right, okay, I just wasn't clear on what that meant or how someone get that.
And notice I didn't say all 5 people in Collinswood because it could be that we might have to look outside for something very unique like that. So that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, and the neighbor sign off, I think seems pretty luck of the draw. If you have a great neighbor.
It is.
It's wonderful, and if you don't, then.
It is, at least for a first round, it is. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
I just have 2 comments on that. You did use the 20 feet window doors of neighbors and the setback, so I don't know why you have to have a property size. Because you're making them be that far away from their neighbors, which is a good point and which I'm in favor of, but I'm not in favor of a limit on the size of the property. It's if your coop and run can be 20 feet from the neighbor's windows and doors, or you would have a full area and a 5-foot setback. You've met the criteria without having a size of the yard.
20 feet from the neighbor's door, your coop?
Windows and doors, and that's proven with the law, that's the law review, the Cleveland Law Review that everybody's used, and there's not been any complaints in 10 towns. So it works.
Explain to the government instead of the neighbors, which is based on our experience, people come to us.
Well, they're not making any formal complaints. So the problem is that that is what everybody's used, and it's 30-some pages, and you had copies of that. The other thing is, the thing about the neighbor's sign off, what happens if it's a rental home? Who signs off, the person who owns the home or the renter? There are questions that you bring up out of the, this is what happens, or what happens if that house.
Somebody moves.
If somebody moves, then the new people shouldn't be able to, you gotta get rid of your coop because I just moved in here.
I agree.
And or the house is abandoned, whatever, foreclosed, and it's been that way for 3 years. What's that person supposed to do? They don't get to have chickens because they can't get a signature. My feeling is, I can see if the person wants to come up with a nice form, I want to be in the pilot program, I agree to do I'm notifying you. So they have official notice, they've got a registered sign-off letter in the mail knowing this, but I really do have a problem with getting permission on what you're going to do in your backyard.
So what good is it for you to get notice when there's nothing you can do about it?
What do you mean?
You said you would give notice to the neighbor?
Well, that you intend to do this, and this is what it's all about, because as Kathleen said, we did the whole forum, and nobody that's an anti-chicken person wants to change their view, and it's based upon not real facts. It's not based upon having 4 hens and no roosters in your backyard. It's based upon, I remember how much it stunk in Gloucester County where there were thousands of chickens on a farm. And that's what's going to happen here. Or they're so convinced that there's still going to be roosters, despite the fact you say, no, there won't be roosters. They have their mind made up. They wouldn't even come to the forum to ask a question. So now they're going to be the same ones that in their head think those things are all going to happen, and they're going to say, no, I'm not going to sign you off. And it's because of the fact they're not willing to even learn or bend or read or come to a free event to learn. I don't think that that's fair. I think you're opening up a can of worms. And again, I know you don't want to hear what other towns are doing. No one in this area requires sign off from a neighbor. And I think it's for a really good reason, because it really does you know, it causes more problems than it's worth.
So lot size and then site. Okay, I'm trying to take notes here.
Yeah, the amount of licenses.
Well, I got yours, I'm what?
Yeah, I mean, with the town size being very similar to Haddon Township, and we have 25, so I don't know what good 12 is.
No, hang on, hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Ed Fox. I live at 211 Lakeview Drive. Some of you may know I'm a licensed professional planner. I prepared the model domestic poultry ordinance for the County of Clinton. I provided that ordinance to the County of Camden, which is used by the Department of Planning. I researched it on professional planning, housing, health code issues across many states, and developed some different criteria. Provided it to the borough last year, and some of the things that I suggested are in here. I professionally and as a resident of Collingswood say that in most cases, Collingswood isn't a great place to have domestic poultry. I can also say that I'm very familiar with the municipal master plan, which talks about encouraging people to do horticulture and gardening. It doesn't say anything about animal husbandry or that sort of thing. Houses are for houses, neighborhoods are for people living there with their gardens. An adoption of or changing of an ordinance for domestic poultry, which I call more than just backyard pens. You have to change the land use element of the master plan. That's my concern. A second, so one, I have a lot of standards which I can send again to the commissioners. The second one is that the master plan doesn't allow it, and that's a process. We'll go through that. The third part is, and I'm not sure I understand what you commissioners are doing, but I was extremely concerned of what Haddon Township did, and I hope you don't do what Haddon Township did. Because they adopted a pilot zoning ordinance. And I don't know, in 27 years of professional planning, where the law allows you to have pilot zoning. Maybe it's a new term, I'm unfamiliar with it, I don't understand how that goes, whether you have to amend the land use plan element to do that. It just seems like the municipal land use law is to make sure that you don't take risks. And when you have a pilot program, it just says, we're not sure whether this works or not. We're not sure whether the standards works or not. Either you adopt them, in my impression, and I'm not a lawyer, as it was pointed out to me, that you're there to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and not say, we're going to try this one out. Either you do it right the first time or you don't do it right the first time. Or either you do it right the first time or you don't do it at all. So that's my concern. So I'm just saying, I hope you don't do what Haddon Township did, because I think it's wrong. I'd be happy to be educated otherwise.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Name, yeah.
As I continue myself through, you mentioned public safety. Sorry. Last week you mentioned you had a public safety building moving forward. Can you?
Public safety forum, yes.
Okay. And you said that you're moving forward. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure, about the police station, fire station. So we are, we have some preliminary designs. The property, the buildings would fit on the site, and on the 434 Haddon. And we're moving forward. We heard a lot of comments about, concerns people have about parking, about the impacts on the neighborhood. Some things they'd like to see, some things they wouldn't like to see. And so we're working with the architects, engineers, the whole crew to kind of go to the next step about, kind of working on design and working on how traffic flow gets affected and kind of advancing the project.
Do you have any material or anything like that to share at this time?
I do not, no. Everything, we showed a little bit of a PowerPoint that night, which was pretty much they took you through all the different different concepts that night, but not that it is a plan yet. It's all just concepts that are all in the works.
Could that be posted online?
I don't know. I don't think we did, and I kind of have hesitations on doing it because it's not. What's that?
You can watch the entire forum online.
So the stream that's up there, yeah, it's up like, up there, you look at it, you can see it down. Okay? Anyone else? Yes.
Christina Lee, 103 West College. Suzanne Todd couldn't be here tonight, she broke her foot. So she just wants to.
She just broke it today?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She applied to the zoning board for a use variance for Airbnb, and the zoning board's decision was that it's a hybrid between rental and boarding house. And single-family homes aren't zoned to be bed and breakfasts. That's what I remember. And so the zoning board said they were sending us to the commissioners so that a new ordinance could be written for home sharing. And that's when I contacted you, asking to meet with you to talk about, answer any questions you had, try to write a new ordinance. So I'm like, what? I need some clarity, because you're saying that Airbnb and home sharing is a boarding room, boarding house. But that's not what the zoning board's decision was when we applied for a use variance. And can you write a new ordinance? Because you're talking a lot about editing existing ordinances, but why couldn't you write a home sharing ordinance? Home sharing implying owner occupied. My house is not big enough to be carved up into duplex. It's very small. And I mentioned the benefits to you when we met, that I read online on Facebook that the neighbors were requesting, like, who has somewhere where my family can stay for the holidays, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving. I have a baby, where can my family stay? Do you know any Airbnb hosts in town? Like, they're asking for it. That's the benefits to our neighbors. They need it. It's the service that we can provide our neighbors, because we have space and they don't.
So we're working on potentially a regulation. That's where we are.
So you're
Okay.
more open-minded to it than when we met with you a few weeks ago.
Fire chief has convinced me that we should take a look at it, so that we can regulate it. But again, Christina, it's not the way you've been operating.
Well, we're willing to change. We told you
Okay,
that. We would
well-
compromise. We would give you occupancy fees. We told you we would compromise.
No, there's no fee.
That's
It's
what I
not,
wanted to talk to you about. We'll change our time period, whatever you want us to do. You can change how often you're available on Airbnb. You can start with overnight. I went to a minimum of 3 nights. You can have a minimum of 30 days. We can change it to whatever we decide to do, but we want to talk to you about it.
But we have to look at it for the whole neighborhood. It can't be personal, it can't be single women who need to pay their taxes.
Well, you've only given us the cease and desist letter, so we're the only ones that
Because
can
it's
talk to
not-
you about it. So if you cease and desist everyone doing it, we can all come and talk to you about it.
okay.
Nobody's allowed to do it. The cease and desist would be
I have a
anybody.
very large family that's.
This is Amy Karofsky.
This is in reference to people not having a place to stay. I have a big family. We just all got together for weddings, and my family's Illinois, Florida, Denver. So, some of the relatives stay with me, some of the relatives stay with my sister Claire in Collinsville, some of them with babies, rent a hotel room down over near the river, or wherever. It's not like we're out in the middle of, the desert, and this is all there is. There's plenty of, used to work in the, travel industry. There's plenty of places to rent. You just go down Route 70, it's 2 miles away. You can get a hotel room. You can get a reasonable hotel room and come to Collingswood. So I don't understand why, if you want to visit Collingswood, you have to stay in an Airbnb in Collingswood.
Because
To
it's
me, it's,
cheaper and you don't need a car.
Tell you what, don't,
well, this is just a point that I'm making about Collingswood itself. I've lived here all my life, and I always loved Collingswood.
there's just like every,
You
pretty
never had
much,
Airbnb?
there's only 2 big topics we talked about tonight, but there's just a difference of opinion.
I mean, I
And
don't
so we're
think with
working,
anybody.
we're working to try to, as Joan so eloquently said, to try to put some things together that we think won't kill us, okay? So we're trying to, and that actually might advance the ball and make things a little bit better. That's what we're trying to do. So anybody else? Yes, sir.
On the public safety, so you're meeting with architects and.
You gotta speak up a little bit.
Oh, you're meeting with
I'm having
architects
trouble
and planners. What are the timeframes on the next steps? What are the next steps?
Well, we hired some architects a few months ago. They got some preliminary plans. I think we're meeting again next week, but I mean, there's no set timetable of when, there'll be a final plan. We're working on it.
So that is 434 the chosen location for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will the neighbors have any input on design?
Well, we invited all the neighbors, especially to the meeting, and then we get
After it's decided.
Well, yeah, well, that's kind of why we did this meeting, because we took input from them on kind of operations, location, what would be concerned about it, and, everybody
And
else.
also in design,
Yeah.
the architects
We had them all.
down sheets with different design sort of, frontages of places and said, give us some feedback on what you like.
A very informal
There
charrette.
was an exercise done with folks that were here, which packed house.
And that'll be a process, we'll be going on, once we get something, and we think we have something that we can present to people, then we'll be doing that, notify everybody, so you might get it out.
Are you just presenting the solution, or are you presenting feedback?
Presenting for feedback. Hopefully one of the solutions we have works, but that's the whole, that's why we're doing. Okay, anyone else?
Parking at the pool.
Debbie Carlton.
I'm sorry, parking in the pool, because I've been.
Yes.
Yes, Debbie Carlton, 47 Manhattan Avenue, Collinswood, New Jersey. The triangle needs to be weeded. I saw some kids out power washing today in that triangle. When you go around.
Yeah,
It's like,
I can't get to
yeah,
that.
it's like, we could help you. And then I've heard from some other neighbors, just in general, that what's happening in the whole area is people park right up to the corner.
Yeah.
On Maple Avenue now and Hillcrest.
Absolutely.
They're
They're
right up to the corner, you
Yeah.
can't see.
People were parking in crosswalks.
Even all year on Maple and Hillcrest, there's a family that parks up to the corner. So can we have some paving curbs? Do people not know that you're supposed to be
In
so
the
far
works,
back?
that's all happening.
That's part of this thing.
At every corner. Yeah.
That's underway. This is the time.
Like up
we're
on
making-
Manhattan Avenue, you try to make a left-hand turn, and somebody's parked 2 feet from the
That's exactly what we're talking
You may
about.
not believe this, but people don't always pay attention.
Well, you can look at when you go to your driver's test, they tell you all that stuff, but it's hard, all over town.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Jan, I was like, go ahead, your name and address.
Jen Rossi, 114 East Palmer Avenue. Here again this year, talk about mulch at Night Park. I did submit an issue.
Were you not here when I gave my speech on mulch?
We literally just had this conversation earlier,
I missed the mulch.
No, it's downstairs. We talked about it before we got here. We're bringing it,
Oh, wait, when
bringing
I
a
was
truck.
here, I talked about that we're doing a cleanup and mulching. I didn't go into the details downstairs, we were chatting about it. The children's playground, we had 10 people working for 3 hours on it on Saturday, east west. We're gonna do it the next couple weeks too. We're going to the children's playground and the young trees, mulching them, picking up litter, pulling weeds. And we're just talking about what does it cost to get a couple of truckloads of the proper kind of mulch in there, because when you swing, if a child is swinging, it's like a little gully, but, so we're trying to start to rake it and move the hard earth there, but we were dying, so we'll come back again.
Yeah, I mean, last year there was some remulching that happened, and it looks like we lost probably about 3 inches in that section that was
We gotta do
remulched.
it every summer.
Yeah, so maybe some editing or
After
something.
the snow and the rain, it passes down, so, yeah, so I think one more weekend of like cleaning it and loosening it up, and then we'll have a truck. Still have to pull out weeds. We'll throw it on top, so great. Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, in case you're interested. All right.
Go on. Anybody else? We good? All right, thanks for coming out.
Yeah.